Gamescom 2025 has just concluded this past weekend for the year, and most will probably argue over this year's highest of the highs and lowest of the lows. Was Gamescom 2025 a showcase to cherish and remember? Let's look into this. So this year's Gamescom show floor became open to the general public during August the 21st. Prior to opening the floodgates, Geoff Keighley opened the initial festivities with his privately hosted pre-opening showcase of Open Night Live 2025. Resembling close to or exactly like previous years, watching this 2-hour showcase felt more like we, the audience, were watching a live recorded rehearsal of what we can expect from this year's video game award show. Now, I can't speak for anyone but myself when saying that Opening Night Live was like a 2.5 hour of fluff announcements and nothing really groundbreaking to showcase. Now, I won't say that Opening Night Live showcased nothing new at all, because that would be a lie. There were just a handful of newly announced game trailers, but nothing I would say is earth-shattering or internet-breaking. We did take away a few release dates from some of the already known games, but we'll get to that in just a moment. I feel that if one were to go by the crowd reactions from attendees, the excitement from the auditorium were at a minimum at best. Nothing from the showcase sparked the same level of excitement we come to expect from a typical pre-E3 press conference showcase, especially when you factor in previous showcases from the big three. In fact, now that I'm thinking deeper about it, Geoff's showcase resembles something more closely to a live taping of a typical PlayStation State of Play, only on open stage, than to say that what we've witnessed was his own customized, built from the ground up showcase to punch a stamp on it and call his own. But let me just say this much. Despite how I personally feel about the results of what this showcase was this year, I will, just this once, pull a devil's advocate on his behalf for the overall presentation. It seems like Geoff Keighley and his team are attempting to resurrect what was once globally known as E3. And they're doing this all by themselves. Well, at least I think they're doing this all by themselves. Kind of hard to say. I do feel that most gamers are probably forgetting that Geoff and his team more than likely must work within the confines of what the publishers actually gave them. Plus, what's all allowed to be showcased to the general public. And then once that's all said and done, they just simply sing and dance with a planted smile and hope for the best. But that's all neither here nor there to all us viewers. That's their own production problem to solve for us and not anyone else's concerns. We're all here to see what you've got to present to us all and then talk about it later, right? So here we go then. Let's talk about what was the most impactful games shown from Opening Night Live, as well as touch upon Xbox's 2 days of Gamescom deep dives. And we're going to start from Opening Night Live. Starting from Opening Night Live, we have Hill Force Games' Long Gone. This looks to be a single-player, side-scrolling, post-apocalyptic, heavily story narrative driven classic pixel art adventure game, which may give players an Days Gone or The Last of Us kind of a feel. From the likes of things, I believe we'll be facing off against occasional zombie like enemies with almost little to no weapons to use at all. There were no hardware platforms announced for Long Gone and no release date as well, but players can proceed to wishlist it right now through Steam. Coming up next is One More Level's Valor Mortis. Now, Valor Mortis looks very cool. It is a first-person French Revolutionary War-like time period set within an unknown location. It could be America, but it's doubtful. More than likely it's somewhere set in Eastern Europe or France, simply based on the cinematic cutscene we just witnessed here. We're transported to what looks to be an actual first-person view of this gameplay out in the middle of a battlefield. In a relatable way, this game kind of reminds me of Bethesda's Dishonored meets Valve's Left 4 Dead with just a small hint of BioShock mixed in. But unlike Left 4 Dead, this game only appears to be a single-player game. At least that's the way this trailer perceives this game. Hand-to-hand melee-style combat with swords and with the occasional pistol or rifle to do-win zombie enemies to death. And there are plenty of death to go around from the look of it. Coming up next, we have Oregon's Shanghai Games Swords of Legends. And this game seems to be the fourth installment from the well-known series of Gujian series. Sword of the Legends is a Chinese-oriented Souls-light action role-playing game with heavy emphasis on hand-to-hand sword clashing combat with thrown-in mystical abilities. The game's enemies look like decayed undead creatures, human or not, we just don't know, along with giants and mystical dragons. Mixed in with possessed inanimate objects for good measure. This game appears to be littered with wild-looking close-up cinematic cutscenes in between epic boss fights, a la Final Fantasy XVI. Looks like this title will give our current gen consoles one hell of a sweaty workout every play session. Swords of Legends has no announced platforms mentioned and no release date, so keep a close eye on this one for when it shows up yet again. So now we're going to move on to Treyarch Studios and Raven Software's Call of Duty Black Ops 7. Now this new trailer for Call of Duty Black Ops 7 was presented and was very nice overall. The game's cinematic displays a lot of sci-fi elements that we've never seen before outside of Modern Warfare Infinite. I think I'll come away satisfied with what this game has to offer. However, a lot of Call of Duty players will absolutely compare Black Ops 7's multiplayer up against the new kid on the block, and that's Battlefield 6. I'm pretty sure Activision has something to worry about, but we'll find out as time goes on. This new trailer is primarily all cinematic cutscenes with just a hint of gameplay from what I think was a slice of the single player aspects of Black Ops 7. And from the look of this trailer, there also appears to be gameplay elements containing wall running and tethered grappling hooks, a la Titanfall and Apex Legends. Now, I haven't played a whole lot of this series throughout the years, so anyone that's more knowledgeable than me when it comes to Call of Duty's campaigns and their multiplayer, because someone in the comments let me know if these two gameplay elements of wall running and grappling hooking, if this is new to the series of COD, because if it is, I simply just didn't know. It could have been here, or this could be a brand new element for the game. But if you happen to know that answer, please comment. Please leave a comment down below. I'd really like to know. But Call of Duty Black Ops 7. This game releases November the 14th of this year for all major current gen consoles and the PC, and arrives day one into Xbox Game Pass Ultimate. Now this next title, big surprise that put a big smile on my face. We get a first-hand look at Warner Brothers Games and Traveler's Tales, Lego Batman, Legacy of the Dark Knight. This game looks awesome. Warner Brothers Games, Traveler's Tales, and Lego pretty much came together and produced a love letter game to both Christopher Nolan's Dark Knight saga and Matt Reeves' The Batman film, only with the face of Lego's cuteness and humor. From the look of this trailer, the fighting mechanics of Legacy of the Dark Knight most resembles one of WB's previous Arkham City games, only reskinned with a Lego look and feel, and to be completely honest, that's all this game really needs to be. Just like how they very well respected the Skywalker saga, this Batman game looks to really showcase what a mature like Lego game could be like in the right hands. I've simply got to play this game day one when it releases. Lego Batman Legacy of the Dark Knight releases sometime in 2026 for all current gen consoles including the Switch 2 and the PC. Moving on, we have Capcom's Onimusha Way of the Sword. The next installment in the Onimusha series. I've never actually played any one of these games before. This one does actually pique my interest in the series. For those already familiar with the series, you should feel right at home for what they presented here. Lots of sword clashing melee fighting against humanoid creatures and nasty monstrous baddies. Fighting against sword-wielding undead humans has definitely returned for your slashing, decapitating pleasure. There are plenty of hacking and slashing amputations to go hand out, so go hard on this one and have lots and lots of fun. Onimusha Way of the Sword releases sometime in 2026 for all current gen consoles and Steam. So next up, Focus Entertainment and Saber presented John Carpenter's Toxic Commando. This first-person action shooter looks to be another run-of-the-mill horror adventure games in the same vein as, say, Left 4 Dead or perhaps Back 4 Blood. I'm not sure if this game has any sort of player XP leveling like Back 4 Blood or if this game is actually a multiplayer game. The footage shown here only showcases what looks to be just the single player aspects of Toxic Commando. Still, the game looks pretty fairly cool, and I'll continue observing this game's growing development. Really nothing much more to say about this game. John Carpenter's Toxic Commando is expected to release sometime in early 2026 for all current gen consoles and PC digital. We get another look at this game, which I believe would be our third look into Silent Hill F. I believe it is. This game is filled to the brim with horror elements to make players pretty much think twice about playing this game in the dark with headphones on. It looks that creepy. I'm fairly sure that Silent Hill F is considered a franchise prequel, predating the very first game of Silent Hill 1 from the PlayStation 1. As already known, this game's story appears to be centered around a young female protagonist set within the country of Japan from an unknown year. We just don't know what year this game takes place. This game looks to set players in a very isolated and open city of Japan and lock within the minds of their own fear to face off with personal demons. Basically everything that makes a great playing Silent Hill game oh so good. You're bound to enjoy this game's fear time and time again with Silent Hill F. Silent Hill F releases September 25th for both current gen family of consoles along with Windows PC, Steam, and Epic Game Store. Getting an additional look at Ghost of Yotei, this will be Sony's singular first party PS5 exclusive for the year, and it's one to be truly excited about. I won't go into too much detail about the gameplay other than players will now be playing a female protagonist this time around. As one would expect from the likes of Sucker Punch Studios, this game is beautiful by nature to look at if you're an observing spectator, and if you're the one wielding the controller, you'll have plenty of nail-biting hand-to-hand combat against the many foes this game has to offer. And the wait won't be too much longer from this recording. Ghost of Yotei releases exclusively on PlayStation 5 family of consoles this October the 2nd, with the DLC scheduled for release sometime in early 2026. And lastly, from Open Night Live, we have Capcom's Resident Evil Requiem. Now, this will be the 9th numerical installment of the Resident Evil franchise. The footage shown from Resident Evil Requiem, or Resident Evil 9, focused solely on the game's very pretty and detailed in-game cinematics, just to give us viewers a small glimpse of all the main story's characters to be involved. there was little to no gameplay showed off at all. But to be honest, as Resident Evil fans, we already know how this game is going to play out. I do hope the cutscene footage that was shown here isn't considered story narrative spoilers of their own. Only time will tell, and now that we have a release date, we can all finally go and mark our calendars for early next year. Resident Evil Requiem is set for release February the 27th, 2026 for both current gen consoles along with Steam. And as our final note announcement to the audience, Geoff Keighley wanted to publicly announce that this year's Video Game Awards show is scheduled to broadcast December the 11th along with new game trailer announcements. And when we switch gears towards Xbox's 2 days of Gamescom deep dives, they presented some nice goodies as well, but their most impactful titles could all be counted on just one hand, and we're going to start with a bit of hardware news. Asus and Xbox came together to form Rogue Xbox Ally and Rogue Xbox Ally X. So Xbox presented a promotional video outlining the finer hardware details regarding both Rogue Xbox Ally devices. Going through the spec sheets would surely take much longer than I'd like to speak about on this video. Another video will follow up about this. Now, as I've once said before in a previous video, I for one are no longer into portable gaming that's not considered an actual gaming laptop. Smaller game screens has grown to be a complete nuisance for me at this age. Just provide me a tried and true old man's gaming console with a large screen TV and my comfy couch. That's all I need. There's no need for me to reinvent the wheel that I'm already used to. But for the new player audience that loves portable gaming in general, there's a lot to love about the ease of use from these awesome devices from Asus and Xbox. The Rogue Xbox Ally and the Rogue Xbox Ally X are both scheduled to launch October the 16th at an unconfirmed estimated retail price of $550 for the standard Ally and $900 for the Xbox Ally X. We'll follow this more closely closer to the time of its launch, so more as things develop. So moving on, we have Double Fine Productions' Keeper. I truly do adore how Double Fine Productions is primarily known for producing strange, quirky games with slapstick or crude levels of humor. Their very latest production for Keeper looks to explore that much further into their love for strange and quirky kind of games. Keeper looks to be one strange looking platform game that has players portraying a young lighthouse come to life with insect-like legs and a bright shiny spotlight as its face. Keeper looks to also pair players with a perched bird companion to join and assist players while traversing through the multiple beautiful environments Keeper has to offer. Not sure how long this game's playtime will be for Keeper, but it's most likely to be 8 hours or more of active gameplay plus cute cinematics. Keeper is scheduled for an October 17th release for Xbox Series consoles and PC, and also included day one into Xbox Game Pass Ultimate. Moving on, we have Team Obsidian's The Outer Worlds 2, and we're getting another look at this game of The Outer Worlds 2. We're taken into an additional deeper dive within this sequel by the guidance of game director Brian Adler and design director Matt Singh. They started off with showcasing some not so thrilling to watch player customization menus that really could have been saved for day one for players to explore all on their own. You don't have to go through all that on screen through a deep dive. Just briefly talk about it and let's move on to the actual running and gunning of the game. First thing you're going to notice is how beautifully colorful and vibrant the environment appears to be. It's a gorgeous display of canyon rock face walls and high-rise buildings along with neon sprinkled here, there, and everywhere. I'm sure this game's visuals will look even better as the players traverse further into the game's story. Now, the general gameplay of this game is more the same of the first Outer Worlds, with some additional weaponry and gadgets to unlock and apply. Players and fans of the original Outer Worlds will surely feel right at home and most likely will adore the Outer Worlds sequel. The Outer Worlds 2 launches this October 29th for both current-gen consoles as Xbox and the PlayStation 5, along with Xbox PC, Xbox Cloud support, Battle.net, and Steam. This game also supports Xbox Play Anywhere and is included into Xbox Game Pass Ultimate. And lastly, but not least, this is my favorite. We get to Squanch Games High on Life 2, and I am very excited to talk about this game. This is by far my most anticipated game to play outside of Fable from next year. High on Life 2 was by far my game of this showcase for many reasons. Not to take away anything from the other set title. I'm sure there are plenty of fun games to go around for all 4 days, but personally speaking for myself, if I was there in Cologne, Germany for Gamescom 2025, I really only would have been there for 2 games. One being Keeper and then High on Life 2. I probably can't fully express how much I really enjoyed and loved the original High on Life game. And I am one of those so few players that actually sat within the game's living room and watched all 3 live performance horror movies in their entirety just for kicks and giggles. Obviously, the devs went through all this trouble to obtain the licenses to include its broadcasting within the game of all 3 movies, and I am for one determined to see that this was not a wasted opportunity from Squanch Games. Chief Creative Officer and Art Director Mikey Spano and COO and Executive Producer Maddie Studevin took to the podium desk and plainly discussed the new story arc for High on Life 2, and how your protagonist has now grown famous from around the galaxy as a well-known bounty hunter and has been living the good life of bounty wealth and fame. Your character one day is handed a bounty on his sister's head, and you must set forth to now rescue your sister before anyone else finds her and brings her into galactic law. And in turn, you are now a wanted bounty hunter. This game looks to be pushing beyond the boundaries of humor from the first game. One example of its humor is that the game contains a hidden code that, once input correctly, unlocks the full NES version game of Bible Adventures. This is just a general taste of what's to come from High on Life 2, and I, for one, can't wait to get my hands on this game for one very fun and humorous ride. High on Life 2 has an unannounced release date of 2026 for Xbox consoles, the PC, and will be day 1 in the Xbox Game Pass Ultimate. And that's pretty much everything from all 4 days, or is it 5 days? It's kind of, I think it's 5. I think it might be 5 days. Now, doubling back and taking another deeper dive into Geoff's showcase begs the question, are we gamers expected to believe that this going forward is E3 resurrected for new audiences? One might also ask, has Geoff's pre-convention on-stage presentation actually been helpful for both developers and the publishers like E3 once was? Is this pre-convention showcase actually necessary to continue going on as an annual tradition? Well, considering that most of what was shown is just a cadence of trailer after trailer mixed in with his own little pre-synopsis of what the next game is we're about to show you, this very well could be considered a newly formatted low-budget version of what E3 originally spawned into existence almost, 30 years ago? Back when it was originally called the Summer CES, for those that remember that. And that's all minus the well-known and very harassed E3 booth babes that pretty much were known for just standing pretty and drawing in new attendees' attention towards their individual booths. And that method surely worked. It worked a little too well, to be honest. Huge problems eventually grew from that kind of in-your-face method of advertisement. But that's a video topic for another day. As it stands today, it's my honest opinion that with many more years to follow from today, Gamescom could very well grow to be as big and well known as E3 once was, and Geoff Keighley and his team will most likely continue riding this E3 light frontier for years and years to come. Now, I for one won't hate on his ambitious hustle, making his team some honest day's bread, all while attempting to entertain and inform us gamers as best as they possibly can. So, I cheers to you and your team, Geoff Keighley. The Gamescom committee probably won't want to continue producing these conventions without you. And with that being said, I am Musical Weapon. Come back again. We'll do this again.